Billionaire Richard Branson calls British Airways' proposed joint venture with American Airlines, quote, toxic. Those comments coming from a Bloomberg op-ed that Branson wrote earlier today. Now, joining us right now to discuss Branson's concerns about government intervention and regulation is former American Airlines CEO. He is Robert Crandall. Bob, great to have you here on Street Smart. So what do you make of Branson's comments?
Well, he's been saying the same thing for the last 5 or 6 years, Carol. I mean, it really is absolutely nothing new. The airline industry is in dreadful shape. As you know, it is consolidating all over the world, and airlines are creating these associations. They're not actually mergers, but groups of airlines that operate together. And these groupings are not at all unusual. American and British Airways have been trying to get this one put in place for 5 or 6 years. The point that Branson simply ignores is the fact that there is a competitive alliance which operates out of Frankfurt, which has a higher market share out of Frankfurt than AABA will have out of Heathrow. There's another competitive alliance that operates with its principal European hub in Paris that has a higher market share on routes out of Paris than AABA will have out of Heathrow. So the fact of the matter is that Mr. Branson doesn't like to have effective competition, and he'd like to permanently disadvantage British Airways and American relative to their competitors, United and Lufthansa and Delta and Air France. And, of course, American regards that as unsatisfactory and unfair, and I think it is unsatisfactory and unfair. So Branson doesn't like associations or alliances that compete with him. He doesn't mind other ones.
Let me ask you about, I mean, you talk about the fact that these things take so long to come through, and we did a story on Bloomberg today about Continental being maybe a better partner for United than US Airways. Of course, they have been in talks before that broke down. They're both part of that cooperation out of Frankfurt that I think you're referring to, the Star Alliance. Do you think that that's the case? Do you think Continental is better suited to United?
Yes, it probably is, although United and Continental have had those discussions before. And Continental generally has decided that it would rather remain independent because Continental is and has been run by some very smart folks, and they see that there are lots of disadvantages to trying to actually merge airlines. Principally among those disadvantages is all of the labor conflict that arises. And in fact, in today's media, perhaps on Bloomberg, I haven't happened to see it today, but there are comments from both United unions and US Airways unions indicating that they would actively oppose such a merger. So the fact is, it's probably true that if you set aside the labor issues, that Continental and United would go better together than US Air and United. But Glenn Tilton, who runs United, has been actively looking for a partner for United for some time.
But Bob, let me just ask you, though, if you were running United, who would you rather be partnered with? Would it be Continental? Would it be US Airways?
Oh, it certainly would be Continental. Now, whether or not the U.S. government would allow Continental and United to get together is another issue altogether.
Or the labor unions, right? I mean, is the labor unions, or the fact that the airlines have to jump through so many hoops, including the labor unions, including the regulators, one of the reasons that it takes so long to get these things together?
Yes, and the fact of the matter, of course, that active union opposition is a big problem, because without the cooperation, any company, I don't care, airlines or any other company, without cooperation from the employees, it's awfully hard to provide satisfactory service. And the problem is that in airline mergers, there are very distinct disadvantages for some of the employees of each of the airlines that merge. And so it's quite understandable that the unions aren't particularly enthusiastic about these things.
All right. We're going to leave it on that note. Bob, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Bob Crandall joining us on the phone. He's the former American Airlines CEO.